How y'all doing? Well, as you see from the slideshow there, I'm going to do an unboxing to some miniatures that belong to the Dark Sun set from Ral Partha. Before I get to that, some of you may already know if you're longtime fans, but there's a lot of you don't, because it's up until recently with the 5th edition, or sorry, 4th edition. Not much as maybe newer people may not know what Dark Sun is. Well, Dungeons & Dragons produced many campaign worlds throughout the years. Most popular ones are like Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms, but they also made some others. Ravenloft, which is an expansion from one of their old classic adventure modules, Spelljammer, and one of the things that I noticed is when I first got into this, and to any degree, especially with miniatures, was from a friend of mine who had Dark Sun role-playing game books into miniatures. And, well, here it is. I don't have a complete box or even full all of this. I just collected the scraps and remains a friend had and collected a few to complete what I can. But Dark Sun, which I would describe here as Dungeons & Dragons in an apocalyptic type world. Fantasy crossed with Mad Max, where instead of nuclear explosions and people driving in, armored up cars and everything, it is a scorched desert land caused by magical powers. In this world, it's a very savage, brutal land of deserts and mountain areas, a few areas of forest. Water is scarce, the sun is constantly heating up everything. Lots of vicious, barbaric monsters and people are around. And the cities that exist, or these city-states, exist with these ruler sorcerer kings. And it's very, I always found it very interesting. It's a brutal, savage world. I mean, I've collected all the books right here. This is the main rule book, and that came in a box set. You have a Wanderer's Journal explaining the world of Athas, which is where Dark Sun takes place, and so forth. And when they created this, in the 30 years of adventure, a book about the history of Dungeons & Dragons, in celebration of it, the creators were wanting to make, they were told to make this new world, and they told them set them in a desert. They want to make it, make it brutal. And they originally didn't want to put things like elves and dwarves and all that stuff, do traditional D&D fare and typical fantasy. But the marketing department says, well, you got to put those things in there, otherwise no one can relate to what it is we're presenting, especially as Dungeons & Dragons. So they put those in there, but they put a little twist on them. For instance, the dwarves, which are still short in stature, they're completely hairless and have kind of a stone-like look in their facial features and everything. The elves are 6.5 to 7.5 feet tall inhabitants who, instead of being one with nature or sort of a celestial look like Token, what we're familiar with, they're raiders. They're traveling nomads, merchants. They don't trust other races as well. They also, of course, you put your humans in there, but Dark Sun is filled with these different unique type creatures, or different races like the Thri-kreen, which are these huge mantis warriors that you can play. You have half giants, which are half as tall as actual giants, but they're also sentient. Can live with society and all that. Very useful for their strength. Then you have one of the more popular ones, the mules, which are human dwarven crossbreeds, highly muscled, usually as slaves. But as other source books I have, the Elves of Athas explaining all of them. Other books I have the city-state of Tyr, which is the main city you play with. And one of the things about Athas is that every creature and plant, it has psychic abilities, latent abilities, or can be trained to be powerful psychics. They created this world to help promote this book at a time, this Ionic Handbook. But other books came about, like the Complete Gladiator's Handbook. You could play, instead of a regular fighter, you could play as a gladiator, a specialized fighter in fighting pits and all that. Other books I have still, the City-State of Nibene, one of the other city-states that you can play around. The Ivory Triangle, which is another box set about warring, 3 areas at 2 city-states, I think, or 3 city-states, and constantly bickering, having war with each other. Earth, air, fire, and water, which kind of relates to the whole magic things. You see, you got Dungeons & Dragons, you have your sorcerers, you have your clerics. Well, there are no gods on Athas, so the cleric powers that characters have are either done because they worship earth, wind, fire, water, or you could be a Templar, which is a special representative in a city underneath the Sorcerer Kings in the city-states, and they draw their power from the Sorcerer King, and that's how they get their clerical powers. So that's how they solve that. But magic is the most interesting point, or interesting part of this game setting, where it's also the cause of why it's such a wasteland as it is. You see, you have your two types of wizards. You have your preservers and defilers, and these differences come about because when you play a character in this world and you cast a magic arcane spell, it drains the life, the plant life around your given area. If you're a preserver, you draw at such a wide distance that it doesn't harm the plant life to any extent, and so it's still alive, and they gather enough to, from a wide area to cast their spells. Then there's the defilers, who take it from such a concentrated area that when they cast a spell, all life in that given piece of land is dead. All plant life it is. And later on, if you advance enough in your in the defiler character, you have an opportunity to turn yourself into a dragon. Yes, and dragons are at the point where they start not only they're drawing energy from plant life, but also start drawing from animal life, from other living things. So, by the way, I just flat out love this picture here by Brom. Brom, along with Tom Baxter and Tony Diddlizzy, but particularly Brom, did a wonderful job creating the look of Dark Sun. In the slideshow here, with the exception of the one with the chariot and those little featherless bird-like things, all that art was done by Gerald Brom. He had that wonderful way of bringing that savageness, that harshness about it, and it really helped set the look of Dark Sun until they came out with the second edition, which I didn't like the art direction in that. It tried to expand it, but to me, artwork is a major thing in trying to draw you into that world. And without Brom, and in addition to Tom Baxter and Tony Diddlizzy, it just doesn't work. But so they got the second edition, tried to bring that as long as they can, and they even came up with novels as typical. I have a few of them. I have the Prison Pentad series, and if you're not much of a player of the games, these are a great way to read the world. It talks to the history and to the main events that happen here. Troy Denny wrote this series that I have here. Let's see, the Prison Pentad series has the Verdant Passage, the Crimson Legion. There's the Amber Enchantress, the Obsidian Oracle, and you got the Cerulean Storm. And just these 5 books completes that series, and it delves into a lot of the main characters. You've seen these in the slideshow already, but many of the characters here are some of the main ones, signature ones in this book, because that's they never made a miniature of him, of Aegis of Astocles, but they did make one of Rikus, they made one of Sadira, and they made one of of Neva. And the box set I'm going to unwrap will have those characters in it. I got this box set from eBay because I was talking to a friend of mine who watched one of my videos. She asked if I had a particular favorite. I said, no, but I did want another one, that Dragon King that they produce. And I already have one, but a friend of mine painted it. And instead of stripping it down and painting it myself, like some people would, no, I wanted to preserve that one and buy another one, which, it could cost a pretty penny. And I looked through eBay, and there was that box set, and, well, here it is. Got it a couple of days ago. This is Dark Sun People of the Land. It is still sealed in plastic wrap here. And let's see, we got the, here's what's all inside. There's 20 miniatures. There's the Dragon King. This is the one I was after. But in addition to that, there's also a lot of great miniatures. You have the Gith Shaman, probably the second best miniature of the group. Some of the Giths. I already have 2 of these Giths. And there were 2 of the first miniatures I painted. But also, again, we have Rikus, there's Neva, and there's Sadira, 3 of the characters of the Prison Pentad series. They're major characters. But you also got a Thri-kreen, a half-giant, an Anakor, you got a Mule Gladiator, got a couple of dwarves, a couple of elves, half-elves here and there. So it's just a good representation of the type of people in the Land of Dark Sun. So, yeah. So I was glad I got this, and I'm going to unwrap it right now to see what's inside. Oh, by the way, these are lead, not pewter. This came out in '91. That was the tail end when they stopped doing lead miniatures and started to transition to pewter. They later came out with most, if not all, of these in single packets, and those were pewter itself. I think my Dragon King is one of them. But okay, let's give it a look. Okay, so here's the box. Let's get this thing opened. See, do I might need a pair of scissors? No, it's coming off quite nicely. Yeah, sealed wrap for over 20 years, since 1991. Unless they open it up further and then just shrink wrapped it back, and in that case it did quite nicely. Let's see. See how this got it. I showed it to my friend, who was a guy who introduced this to me, miniatures to me, back when I was in 8th grade. And I showed him this box set, and boy, did it bring back nostalgic memories. His uncle got these miniatures, and he collected them and painted a few for himself. Never painted all of them, but man, did he love this series. Okay, here we go. Let's move this keyboard back a bit, and let's see what we got. Ral Partha painting instructions. I already know how to paint, but hey, everyone's new at these. Let's see. The official Advanced Dungeons & Dragons paint line. I doubt this is in existence anymore. Not after all these years. Wow, how do I paint the face? What color should I use? Should I prime the figure? Yeah, I always do. In fact, I'm planning on priming these, before I paint them. Especially since they're lead. But here we go. Get this outer coating out of the way. Wow, this is nice. Notice when returning this product for any problems or defects, this tag must be included to your proper handling. Ral Partha Enterprises. By the way, Ral Partha, while they don't produce the D&D miniatures anymore, they're still in existence, just not under Ral Partha. They're Ironwind Metals, so they produce a lot of genetic fantasy lines. Still good stuff. You should check them out. I'll put a link down below. Let's see, this is the hand and sphere to 2 of the miniatures. Let's take a look at what we got here. Oh, this is just nice. The Anacore, and yeah, let's get this back a little bit. There we go. Yeah, kind of monstrous beasts that you find in the Dark Sun world. Let's see. One of the dwarves. Yes. That's wonderful thing to look at here. And there we go. We got one of the elf fighters. We've got a little swords, kind of dressed in the adventurer's wear. What's this one? Yes, one of the iconic characters. And you see her in a slideshow. This is Neva. She's a human gladiator. And I'm sorry if it's not fully in focus here. I didn't set my video to focus beforehand. And it doesn't have an autofocus. It's a cheap, camera. But, well, that'll be fun to paint. Oh, wow. Let's see, what else is here? Yep. Type of shaman type character, if I recall. I have to look at the back of the box again. And by the way, in the world of Athas, it's so hot, most people don't wear too much clothing, or they wear light, practical clothing. Wearing full plate armor is not advised in most cases, because the heat will get to them. Yeah. Oh yeah, halflings are also in this. I mentioned the dwarves and the elves, but the halflings there are sort of these short, primitive people. And if you ever watched the movie Willow, they have that sort of look about. them. And what's this? Oh. Yes, I'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. Where is the one I was after? Oh, there he is. Okay, I see him. Yeah, I see. Well, I'll get to that one last. So, here's Sadira, and my friend was telling me about this. This is lead, and like pewter, it has a tendency to bend. You just, just kind of straighten this with her knife. Was a bit bent. That happens a lot with miniatures. They don't come in one solid piece. Well, going back to the concept of metal on Athas, steel is iron is also very rare. So a lot of the equipment is made with wood, bones, obsidian, stone, what have you. As a human fighter there, yeah, again, my friend was telling me about how these things can be bent and where I'll take care of them. And we've got a, elf or half-elf wanderer. Just wonderful. Alright, let's keep going on. Yes, this is the mule gladiator. Well, anyway, let's see, we got a mule fighter or gladiator here. This is a half-human, half-dwarf. Very nice piece. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, I forgot one. This is the other dwarf. Yeah, straight dwarf right here. Oh, wow. Gosh, this brings back so many memories of my friend when he used to have these. And let's see. Rikus. Major character. He's also a mule. He's a half dwarf, half human. He's a gladiator. He's also in the series I just showed you of the Dark Sun novels. He's a excellent fighter, but in the second book, The Crimson Legion, he shows to be a very bad general. But if you want to know about that, go ahead and just pick up the book series. There's 5 of them. Should be easy to find. Again, this is a I think an elven shaman. Just has a scroll in his hand, or it could be some magical advice. But wow. I'm glad that the lead, still held up. I mean, I'll pick that up last. Oh, yep, another problem there is got that lead, easily bends. I have one of these already. This is a Gith. Sort of a savage, described in the Dark Sun series as a cross between an elf and a reptile. They could probably stand up to like 7 feet tall or so, but they're mostly hunched over. So again, and there's 3 of them in this box set. So let's see if we can find another one. Yep, here's another one. And again, suffering the same problem with the spear. I'm glad we put them in better cases. But wow. Of course, when I start painting these, I'll take off the little extra flash. There's little bits of metal from the mold. It's a good sign. It shows that there was no air bubbles or anything. And I'll carefully brush them down with a toothbrush and soap, and I'll give them a primer. Here's the third Gith. Here we go. Not so bad. Okay, not really, But this is the one I don't have, this particular one. The other 2 I do. Let's see. Okay, now this one should be, the Thri-kreen. Yes, this is one of the Mantis Warriors I was saying about. Yeah, you could play one of these as a player character in Dark Sun. You got 4 arms, very good natural fighters. They don't need much water. They don't sleep, but they only live like about 25 years. So, very nice. Okay, now here we get to some of the bigger ones, and we'll start with the my friend told me this was a big solid beast here, the half giant. Again, these are player characters. You could play one of these. They're kind of dull-witted, but they make up for great strength and all that. And he's got some metal right there on the neck. And you probably need to follow that down. Also, some of these in the arm. So got some flash on the side. So he's going to take some work for prepping up. Also between his legs, But oh wow, nice to have a sort of a giant ogre slash character like that. Now, the second best miniature I think in a set comes right here. Boy, I gotta be careful. The Gith Shaman. Now this is very interesting because in Dark Sun there's this one group of nasty humanoid creatures called the Belgoi, and they call this the Gith Shaman because he does kind of look Gith and all that, and you see in the slideshow this very character, but in the rules you have these very gnarly looking humanoid people that ring these bells, like the one in his hand, called Belgoi. They go around trying to hypnotize, trying to abduct people for food out in the wasteland. Now this one I'm about to bring up, oh, by the way, this long part right here, that's its spear to that Gith Shaman. But the one I got this box set for comes in, looks like 4 parts. Here's the lower half, and here's one of its, here's its staff with obsidian on top. That's important to the Dragon King. Also in this bag here, it has his other hand, and then there's the top of it. And in a little bit I'm going to grab some super glue and put it all together for you so you can see what it is like complete. But this is the reason I got it. I wanted another one of these miniatures of Dragon King of the Dark Sun set so I could paint it myself. The one I have, a friend of mine painted it, so but now I have this new one, and it maybe show you in time of what it'll look like after I got finished. I'm curious. I wanted to get this one because I've been painting for years, and I wanted to see how well I can do these myself with all the techniques I've learned. I don't consider myself an award-winning expert on these things, but I do a decent job for most people to be impressed. Okay, so let me see if what it looks like when I get these together. Okay, so here I got all almost all the 20 miniatures standing up here of the box set, and the two that need assembling, I'll bring out the Gith Shaman first. And here he is. He's got this spear. As I put them together, when I fiddled with the spears and the weapons here, I forgot how fragile lead is, especially with just a little narrow piece. But hopefully it'll straighten up a little bit when I prime it and paint it. They add that little bit of reinforcement. So I'll just put this guy right here. I also noticed that with inside the little bag with the arm and the shaman's staff, there's this little bitty wire in here, and I think that was more for pinning. See, sometimes when you have multi-piece miniatures, you can simply glue it, but due to the design of some of these, a little extra reinforcement is needed. So you have this tiny little drill bit, and I have one, but I never really use it except for drilling holes in bases and such. And one of the things you do with the drill bit is that you drill a tiny hole into the spot of the where two pieces are put together, cut a piece of this wire into it, and that will serve as a reinforcement when you glue it. But here it is, the prize of what I was after in this box set is right here, fully completed, the Dragon of Athas. Here it is. It's very nice. I guess the one flaw with this miniature is it's very thin. Again, being lead, this staff is very wobbly. You know, oh, sorry, not wobbly, but very easy to bend. So with the hands here. But I was careful with the one I had. I had my other one for over 20 years. But also another thing, this is a very, as you can see, it kind of wobbles a little back and forth. Back is up a bit. So again, it's not perfectly flat. And that's kind of one of the flaws of metals, is that they could, you know, depending on the design of them, if they tip over, they can break easy. Unlike plastic, where even where it's painted, you could tip over off the floor and it could still be in one piece. But I still love metals, particularly pewter, and I tried looking for one, but I only found this box set. Now, yeah, I'm going to probably paint this last out of this whole group. I got a lot of work to do. But this one was the prize I was after. So after all those years, I finally found another one. Here it is. The Denizens of Dark Sun, the People of the Land box set. And originally, a box set like this would range around $20. If I don't know about this one. I don't think it was on the box. But box sets like this could have 10 miniatures for 20 bucks. This probably maybe 30. I paid $140 off of eBay. Now, okay, it's understandable. It was unopened. These are out of print miniatures. But hey, I don't plan to make a habit of this, especially for old stuff, much as I would like to get some of the old stuff. But there you go. 20 miniatures of Dark Sun, including the Dragon King. And just more information. The idea of the Dragon King here, this is a defiler wizard who is partway through his transformation. In Athas, you know, defiler mages can become dragons if they reach level 20. Which is generally, in most cases, is the maximum level for a Dungeons & Dragons character. But in Dark Sun, you can go further. You can become up to level 30. And if a Defiler Wizard meets the requirements of both his psychic abilities and his magic, he could go through a very long process of going from starting at level 20 and up for each level he gains. And he gets the right components and does the right requirements, which are tasks of themselves, quests just to get the spell components, and getting the ritual right. He has to, you know, his character has to study it all the time. But if he but for each time he gets to the next level and casts the spell correctly and survives, he gets to be more and more like a dragon. So here it is, probably halfway through the process. A complete dragon will be more of a traditional looking dragon. you know, has wings, has, you know, goes on all fours. So again, it's just one of the exciting things that gets, you know, that got me into Dark Sun in the first place. I never played the role-playing game itself, but I did read the novels. I like looking through the game books, but here you go. The Denizens of Athas. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this, and you try to have a nice evening.